Folks, you have been such a fantastic audience so far. Are you ready for the person of the hour? Fantastic. Folks, join me in welcoming Tristan Miller.
Keep it going from that, everybody. I am emotionally unstable enough that if you kept doing that, I would cry, and that would be a terrible beginning to a comedy show. Thank you all so much for coming out. I want to begin with some acknowledgments, not just for books anymore. I'd like to start with some acknowledgments. Number one, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you all so much for coming out and supporting this show. It means a lot to me. I've worked on this show for a number of years. The other thing I want to acknowledge is I have some privilege in being able to talk about mental health. I have the privilege to and the privilege of being able to speak about mental health without any real concern for bodily harm or retribution from, society at large because of the way I present and the way society treats me because of it. For example, I can't imagine how difficult it must be to have a mental health condition and be ugly. Whereas I'm as cute as a button. You can put me in your pocket. People still don't want to talk to me about this stuff. So I wanted to acknowledge that. And then also I wanted to say this show gets into some dark and heavy places, but its intention is to bring lightness to those dark and heavy things. So no matter what I say up here, I'm fine. I'm fine. The more you say, the less believable. I'm fine. All right, so I said, thank you for coming. I said, I'm cute. I said, I am fine. So I think we're ready to start. I think the best way, though, to kind of counteract how dark and heavy this show can kind of get is to try to come together. And I think the best way to come together is to chant. That's wooing, thank you. Good guess. So it's worked for thousands of years. The Catholics, they never stopped. Maybe they should have. But if you wouldn't mind repeating after me, ooh, ooh, ga, cha, ka. Great. Now this next part is the most important. On my tempo, please. All right. So here we go. Ooh, ga, cha, ka. Ooh, ga, cha, ka. Oh, I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Depression. I think we all learned a little something about depression recently. If you didn't come out of 2020 more depressed, anxious, or gay, I can't help you. You gotta go back and do it again. But not to brag, but I was depressed before. Because I'm mentally ill, don't worry, I keep it light about half the time because I'm bipolar. Being bipolar has its ups and downs. Being bipolar is interesting because the comorbidity rate, which sounds like the cost of a suicide pact, it's not. The comorbidity, it's okay, you can catch up. The comorbidity rate is, of course, when there's more than one instance of an illness in a patient. So if you're bipolar like me, number one, stop it. I want my own personal brand of mental illness. Thank you. Number two, don't you wish your girlfriend was bipolar like me? Not so much. Number three, if you're bipolar like me, you're more likely to have anxiety, depression, and ADHD. And if that wasn't already clear, soon you will see that that is the case. And it's difficult having anxiety and depression at the same time, because on the one hand, you have depression that goes, I just want to die. And then on the other hand, you have anxiety that goes, but what if you do? What if you do? Whereas I also have ADHD, and that's kind of fun, It's like being part of the most disorganized army unit to ever exist. Because it's just like, I don't know what I've been told. I don't know what I've been told. It has some advantages, though. It makes me great at multitasking. For example, I can listen to someone and also ignore them. Makes some everyday tasks difficult, like sex. Well, not every day. Makes every day. It's so indicative that I was raised Protestant because I call sex a task. As opposed to a joy of life. Had I been raised Catholic, it would have been a means to an end. But it's difficult. It makes sex difficult because, you know, the mind wanders, the main component of ADHD. So sometimes when I'm making whoopee, a phrase I believe we should bring back. That and slamming clams. It's 2024. I don't care who you are. If you're making whoopee, you're slamming clams in my book. And that's the platform I'm going to be running on next election cycle. You ever say the most amount of nothing that it sounds like something? That's what that was. Anyway, so I think that it makes sex difficult because the mind wanders, and so sometimes I'll get a song stuck in my head. And I don't know about you, but I find it mighty difficult to bust a nut with Randy Newman's "You Got a Friend in Me" just kicking around up there. I suppose it was appropriate because I did. So maybe I should explain what exactly the hell it is I'm supposed to be talking about today. So what is bipolar disorder? Or as I like to say, what is bipolar disorder? Bipolar disorder is a condition in the brain where the subject feels at various intervals life very, very quickly or very, very slowly. I say very, very quickly or very, very slowly because I haven't learned the word incredibly or how to use it in a sentence yet. No, I say quickly and slowly instead of up and down because up and down has positive and negative connotations, which isn't always the case. We'll get to that later. This is my own personal definition, not a doctor's definition. I'm not a doctor. I could be someday, but I doubt it because I'm here now doing this. So, there are 3 tiers, sometimes more when you're depressed. There are 3 tiers of bipolar disorder. There's bipolar number 1, or as I like to call it, Princess Leia's disease. Honestly, I'm honored, but I'm not flattered. Reportedly, Carrie Fisher's last words were, tell Harrison that I was faking. I say that joke because I think she'd like it. In bipolar 1, you have major depressive episodes where you feel listless, hopeless, you lose kind of your sense of self, you may have difficulty getting out of your bed, you may slowly fuse to your bed like a spike stuck in a tree. You know how sometimes you'll see a bike stuck in a tree, and then the tree will consume it as if to prove, I'm going to be fine, you guys are screwed. But you may feel, like I said, listless, hopeless. You may have suicidal ideation. You might have what is known as brain fog, which is a scientific term for which is what my doctor told me I had. At least I think he was a doctor. He did go, you have blah. Then he went up a spooky spiral staircase. Next time, invite me in for a house call. A little bit of Dracula humor for you there at the beginning of the show. Nothing more satisfying than calling any vampire a Dracula, huh? Oh, Edward Cullen, he's my favorite Dracula. It's not true, it's the Count. I love the way he laughs. I love how all of you resisted the urge to go, This is the first time no one has done that, so you are stronger than most. I recently stumbled into a new one as well. I've decided to call any sort of sci-fi creature a Chewbacca. Did you see Dune? That Chewbacca's crazy, looks like a giant worm. It's fun to have fun. My favorite Chewbacca? The xenomorph from Alien. It's fun to have fun. So, also, you might have what is clinically known as no fun at parties syndrome. And that happens on both sides of the manic and the depressive sides of the condition, because on the one hand, of course, when you're depressed and you're at a party, someone will go, hey, great party, and you'll go, it'll end soon. Bad energy. Whereas though, when you're manic, a lot of people are like, oh, you must be the life of the party. But sometimes that means someone goes, hey, great party. And then you proceed to tell them everything you know about the Great Barrier Reef. Both people are bad to talk to. So that's the depressive side, and on the flip side, you have what are known as manic episodes, where you have an expansive mood, increased energy, egotism, everything becomes about you, everyone's talking about you, you can't hear a word they're saying, everyone's talking at you. Your friends are talking about you. Your enemies are talking about you. The plants are talking about you. You may think you're in communication with God or Satan, depending how your life is going. And you may suffer what is known as a full psychotic break. Don't worry, not going to happen tonight. So that's bipolar number 1. Bipolar number 2, what I have, it's a little lighter, a little less intense. The depressive episodes, again, very similar, and I think it's easier to talk about depression because we've all gone through a period of grief in our life. If you lost a loved one, going through a breakup, did poorly on the SATs, whatever it is. But the depressive episodes with bipolar 2 are a little lighter, but they weirdly, that makes you more likely to attempt to end your own life, which seems strange, but it's kind of like, in those antidepressant commercials where one of the symptoms of taking the medication is attempts at suicide, which seems like the opposite of what you're going for. But I figured it out. It's because you start feeling better when you take the medication, so you can finally get to that long list of things you've been putting off. Here's another fun fact about suicide. Thank you so much for coming out to my comedy show. If you are assigned male at birth, you are statistically more likely to successfully end your own life. Just another thing men are better than women at. Now, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it 3 times for emphasis that I do not think it is good. However, if we had to pick one of the 2 major genders to have fewer of, we could do worse, is all I'm saying. A singular a person applauding. Yes, death to all men. Hashtag all men, actually, in this one specific entity. Man, that's going to be an awkward conversation for you 2 going home tonight. Oh, boy. So that's the depressive side for bipolar 2. And on the manic side, it's what are known as hypomanic episodes. Hypo meaning less than, like hypoglycemic, the thing Paul Blart Mall Cop has. As opposed to hyperactive, like hyperactivity, which is what I have. And that and so many other reasons are why he and I are opposites. The main other one is he's a mere fiction and I a real boy. Because I do think if you had a hypermanic episode, you would just enter into heaven and achieve enlightenment. And then all those monks would be like, oh, wait, I thought you had to sit and think a magic word twice a day for 20 minutes. All you had to do was be insane? Dang. I poke a little fun at transcendental meditation because I practice transcendental meditation. Eventually I'll get good at it. But I don't like it when older people give younger people guff for meditating, as if older people don't also go, let me just close my eyes here for a second. Think about something nice. So in a hypomanic episode, you may have increased speech, increased in creativity, and make bad business investments, sometimes all at once. And you may get fewer sleeps. Grammar joke there for you. A grammar joke is, of course, also what I call it when my Mima pops a particularly good pun. I swear to God, if that's the first applause break, I will stop touring this show and just do bad jokes. I'm just kidding. Tristan was really on a promising career in comedy, and then all of a sudden switched to writing joke books that are sold at CVS for $5.50. Yeah. So the third tier of bipolar disorder is cyclothymia, which sounds like a disease you get from making love to a bike lock. You can imagine that however you want. Cyclothymia, as the name infers, is cyclical in nature. It's kind of like seasonal affective disorder. Sorry, seasonal affective disorder. Seasonal affective disorder is what I like to call climate change. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, the most condescending yet accurate of acronyms to ever exist. Truly a Don Draper moment for the medical community. We all feel sad, but now we can have sad. But unlike SAD, cyclothymia is not beholden to the weather, so you can be celebrating our nation's independence from the crown and just be like, oh, God! Oh. Hey, are you all right? Oh, yeah, I just, love America so much. Happy birthday, George Washington. Now, hold on. So, having bipolar disorder is kind of like when you're manic, it's like when you're going 90 in a 30 zone, and the depression is the cop pulling you over. So like, woo, I've never heard a siren in my life. Woo, it sounds like I'm throwing Winnie the Pooh. Oh, bother. Woo! Do you have any idea how fast you were going? No, I have no concept of consequences for my own actions. Well, since this is just a hypo... I'm sorry, I've been doing this show for years, and I just realized in the act out, apparently I'm in jolly old England because of that. Do you have any idea how fast you are going, baby? No, I have no concept of consequences for my own actions, and I'm visiting from the States, you see. Well, since this is just a hypomania, I'm going to let you off with a warning now, aren't I? Are you? Yeah, mate, that's what I'm going to do. That's just super, officer. Thanks so much. You are really loud. Yeah, I sound like a bad David Lynch impression. What a horrible last name. And it's Dutch, which somehow makes it worse. So where was I? Oh, right, comorbidity, when there's more than one instance of an illness in a patient. So having bipolar disorder is kind of like having the oatmeal variety pack of mental health disorders. It's like, oh, what's the flavor this morning? Oh, it's intrusive thought syndrome. Obsessive compulsive negative thoughts. They're mantras in reverse. Oh, they're chunky. What are the chunks? Internalized racism. I know. I did get into this... I'll come back to it, maybe. I did get into this intrusive thought cycle, which sounds like something Freud and Wagner would come up with. 3 people have seen an opera. Good for you. I love a 3-opera crowd, you know? I got into this intrusive thought cycle where a slur was kicking around in my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was uncomfortable. Almost as uncomfortable as the energy in this room now. But don't worry. It turns out laughter is the best medicine because I watched enough Vines. You know, Vine, my generation's contribution to the artistic milieu of society. Yeah, give it up for Vines, everybody. We're going to be talking about Vine the same way we do Cubism in a few years. Just in a museum. And then she says, look at all those chickens. But they're not chickens, are they? Muffy, what did you say they were? Oh, they're ducks. But I watched enough Vines where the Nintendo Mii Maker music got stuck in my head. You know that bum 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 ba da 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 ba ba da da da. Don't say that. No, don't say that. No, don't say that. Don't say that. It's the first time in the history of the medium that video games have stopped a white guy from saying the N-word. And in that way, I am a pioneer. I do think that farts are intrusive thoughts coming out the other end. Just like murder your family. Make whoopee to a deer. Try stand-up comedy, you know. Things you can think but should never act on. And it's all, you know, it's all born from anxiety, and I just can't stand anxiety. I can handle the ups and downs, the outs. I know one thing. That's Sinatra. He was one of us. I mean, he had bipolar disorder. Not that he was white, although he was white, but he was Italian American, and sometimes I like to pretend that they're not. And I'm Irish American, so I kind of inherently have beef with Italian Americans. If you don't want to Google it, anyway. So, and it's difficult being Irish American because on the one hand, when the Queen died, as an American, it was my God-given right to not care. But as an Irish person, oh, it was a great day that day. But, I mentioned Carrie Fisher, she had bipolar disorder. Frank Sinatra had bipolar disorder. But the poster child for bipolar disorder is Vincent van Gogh. Or if you're from Europe, Vincent van Gogh. And I don't much care for that, because this man famously shot himself to death, ate lead paint, and was kicked out of a French pub for smelling too bad. Do you know how bad you have to smell for French people to be like, get them out of here? Mon Dieu, you smell worse than the cheese we pawn off to the tourists. Every time a French person says mon Dieu in my life, it's not often, but when it does happen, I'm like, okay. It does make me think that they're saying Mountain Dew, because I am from the Midwest. And it just makes me think, hello, it is me, disgraced filmmaker Jacques Cousteau, here for Mon Dieu Code Rouge. Et Mon Dieu Baja Blessed. But it's all born from anxiety, and I can't stand it because it's just stupid fear, right? Because fear makes sense. Fear is like, that man has a gun. Anxiety, that man could have a gun. Republicans, give that man a gun. Give that man a gun. Give that man a gun. No. Really, a mentally ill person advocating for gun control. Can't imagine why. You're catching up? That's fine. Anyway, so I would get really anxious, less so now, take that past me. I would used to get really anxious, particularly at work. My mind would just be like, ooh, ah, disturbed. My mind was disturbed, so I'd be like, hey, babe, what's going on? I call myself babe in my head. I do, because I've done CBT, which is not the sexual kink you're thinking of. Although there is a sexual kink called CBT. Do not look it up. Look it up. Do not look it up. Look it up. Do not look. I think you already know. So I've done CBT, cognitive behavior, cock and ball torture. Behavioral therapy, in which you learn to treat yourself like a friend you like. So if you're a friend of mine, I'm going to call you babe or boss or sweetheart when I want to be condescending. Only the women laugh. Can't imagine why. Oh, just as a man, it just didn't speak to me that bit. But I call myself all these things in my own mind. So I'm like, hey, babe, what's going on? Well, I don't think you realize how difficult this job is. You have to remember what people want to eat and then write it down. And what happened to the days we used to sit around a table and have supper instead of dinner? And when did we start calling it dinner instead of supper? And what happened to the America I grew up with? Okay, let's not project your personal problems onto the American public. We already got a guy for that. Hell, every guy does that, really. I'm doing it now, and we call it art, but when a woman does it, we call it a trick, and I never did care for that. That's a quote from Annie Oakley about gunplay, but it's also applicable to stand-up comedy. Don't worry, boss, this moment, it cannot last forever. Well, that's not true. Well, what do you mean? Well, if you think about it, we can only experience one moment at a time. So life is a series of now, and then done happens, and I don't know when done happens, and so I live in constant fear. Okay, sweetheart. Sorry I got weird. Even the Descartes would have been like, oh, this is too much. I think, therefore I am. You think too much, therefore you are. Neurotic, boom, roasted, Rene out, and then he flies away. Did Michael Flatley invent the dab? That's a joke that crosses 4 generations and hits with none of them. But I got a mind like a platypus. You look at it and you go, it functions, but why'd God do it that way? But it's difficult, calling yourself all these positive things. Positive self-talk, it can be very tricky. Because, if it gets out of hand, when does it just become, well, what's the matter, precious? Oh, the show's not going very well. I don't know what to do. What to do? Oh, I know. We will go to an open mic. Yes! And we'll workshop a few concepts, and if they don't laugh then fuck them. This is all to say that I'm sober. Thank you for laughing at that. No, honestly, though, some people, applaud, and then I'm like, oh, shucks. But, when I did it in New Zealand, it was... I toured the show down in Aotearoa in New Zealand. It was a wonderful experience. But at every time I said that, people laughed so hard in the meanest way. They're like, how are you supposed to have a good time now? The answer is, I don't. But no, I realize that I don't need alcohol to be an asshole. I can just kind of do that all natural. But yeah, and I don't understand people who use barbiturates and alcohol to cope with the current everything that's going on, because none of that is going to be there during the inevitable apocalypse that is to come. Whereas me, I'm clean, I'm sober, I don't need anything except for the love and adoration of strangers. Artists will not do well in the apocalypse. It'll be like, oh, a caravan, finally someone to love me. Please use my body for meat, not sex, thank you. Oh no. Oh, God. Oh. Anyone got a life alert? Just, okay. What the hell was that at the end? I think we all just learned a little something about me, including me. But it's tricky being... It's tricky being sober because I only have 2 things left. I have sugar and I have caffeine, and I'm sure as hell never going to give up caffeine because I don't want to become an inattentive bastard person. And I know I have a sugar problem. I don't think I have a caffeine problem because I haven't had a heart attack yet. Although sometimes self-harm is having 7 cups and just kind of hoping. And I know I have a sugar problem. And, some people, they come up to me after the show and they go, Tristan, you can't possibly have a sugar problem. You are too thin. And I say, thank you so much for coming, bad Jeff Goldblum. But I have an anxiety disorder which keeps my heart rate at the optimum caloric burning level 100% of the time. You reach out for your hand for a handshake, I go in for a hug, that's 10 pounds right there. You remind me about the current global and economic crisis that we're facing. That's 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Sold me to the woman that looked me square in the eye and said, no, I like you, because it was the word no that really bothered me, as if she knew in my own mind I was going, no, you don't, because I have 3 voices in my head. 4 voices, we'll get to you later. I have 3 voices in my head. The first one goes, you messed up, you messed up, you messed up, you messed up. The second one kind of sounds like Bing Crosby for some reason. Slow down, you've talked to professionals about this. And the third one goes, what if the first guy was right? But in getting sober, it made me realize that every part of me is an addict, right? Because that makes sense, that if your brain, seemingly at random, dumps all the fun chemicals, you would try and recreate that, right? But being in a manic episode is not sustainable, and it's frankly embarrassing. Because you make choices where even Icarus is like, you should have thought it through. It's difficult explaining what being in a manic episode feels like, but I'm going to try. It feels like everything should rhyme, but it doesn't. It feels like everything should rhyme, but really that only happens from time to time. And you're not sure if it's nature or nurture, but you're pretty sure it's going to happen in the future. What's known in the biz is called slant rhyme. See also T-Pain. Can you imagine, Mr. Payne, we need you in 5 minutes, please. Mr. Payne is my father's name. Call me T. Well, I will forever hold in my heart that I love that joke. But it's weird being in a manic episode because, you get into these weird sort of free associative states. Thank God they're free associative, otherwise I'd be in debt. I am in debt. I don't want to talk about it, but I will, with literally anyone who I corner at work to be like, hey, do you have a quick $10,000 that I could borrow? But, it's free. You get these weird sort of free associative states. Here's a quick impression. This is Matthew McConaughey as a bailiff. All rise, all rise, all rise. Thank you very much. This is Eddie Murphy about to sneeze. But you get to these weird free associative states, so sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have like 7 songs all stuck in my head at once, It'll be like, come fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. For what is a man, what has he got? If not himself, then he has not. In other words, I did it my way down upon the Swanee River. That's where the old folks play me a song. You're the piano man. Sing me a song tonight, for we're all in the mood for a melody, and we think that you do all right, she all right. She moves in mysterious ways. Dun, 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 dun. It's 10 a.m. Like I said, it's embarrassing. And this next part, gets easier every time I tell it, but it's really difficult kind of to parse, because, I was in a manic episode once, and I thought that the third Hobbit movie was good. You thought you were going to get something of substance? No. I realized, like I said, every part of me is an addict. And it's not just when I'm trying to go fast or high. When I want to go slow and low, oh, baby, you better believe I want to get low. So low, even Barry White can't hit those notes. It's an Did you just say that's stupid? I was going to say, because that's the biggest compliment you can give a joke. It's like, oh, that's so, but anyway, it's what I like to call, and it's emotional limbo game from hell. How low can you go? It's what I like to call compound disinterest, which is not that funny, but it is smart, and in that way, I am like Shakespeare. I'll give you an example. I did a show. It did not go well. Can you imagine? Okay, we received. But it did not go well. I went to my apartment, and I was smoking in front of my apartment. I was smoking and pacing and smoking. I was like, I should just quit comedy. I'm not good at it. What is comedy anyway? It's just, I'm making one noise, hoping a very specific noise comes back at me. And if my parents knew I was smoking, they'd be so upset with me. I'm never going to be loved by my parents the same way that I was loved by them as a child. At least it's never going to feel that way. And oh my God, if time is truly just a construct, that means I'm already dead. I'm just a walking, talking corpse for other people's amusement. So it's difficult. Dating, I mean. Because when you tell the person all of this, is it like sex? Do you wait for the third date, or do I go up to somebody and go, hey, can I buy you a drink? I'm bipolar. You can get it to go. And it's understandable. I've been on both sides of being in a relationship with someone who has a mental health condition. Both sides. I mean, listen. I've had so long to get good at a Trump, and it's not happening. It's just not gonna happen. Every time I try and do a Donald Trump impression, it just slowly morphs into Ronald Reagan, which is like appropriate, but not correct, you know. Instead of learning a Trump impression, I learned a very topical, very hip impression, that of American singer-songwriter Randy Newman. It goes a little something like, well, after I wrote Short People, I received a bunch of knocks on my door, and I'd look through the peephole and look right over them. They were all too short. You couldn't see them. That's what he sounds like in any interview. He sounds like a normal human man. I'm sure what you were expecting was like, I'm gonna do a Randy Newman impression for the rest of the night. I'm gonna do a Randy Newman impression to everyone's delight. He's got round vowels and a stuffy nose. All his sucks jokes nobody knows. I'm gonna do a Randy Newman impression for the rest of the show. I'm gonna do... Could you imagine? It was like, oh, funny, poignant in places, great to hear about mental health, devolved into the last 20 minutes of a Randy Newman impression, unhinged 10 stars, The Scotsman, you know. Thank you. Oh, God. We're having fun here, which is great. At least I am. You know, there's two ways of saying I like to have fun. There's like, you know, I like to have fun. There's like, no, I like to have fun. And the latter is coming from me because I'm a youngest. Anyway, so what was I talking about? Oh, right, wanting to kill yourself when you're in a relationship. This is where you remember we chanted at the beginning. We're all on the same team here. So it is understandably concerning when you are with someone or have a friend who has depression, because it can look very scary from the outside looking in, whereas at this point, my depression is mostly, to me, like an annoying friend attempting to get me to try kale. How do you know you don't like it unless you try it? You only have to do it once. I've been living with this for like more than 20 years. Like I grew up in the Midwest, and it was difficult growing up in the Midwest and being depressed in the Midwest, dear Abby. But it was difficult not because of the toxic masculinity or the social stigma, no, but because of the vernacular. Because I still have thoughts like, well, boy, howdy, I want to kill myself. Golly gee whiz, there's just a hole in my soul that I can never fill. Have I ever truly felt joy or just some poor facsimile? Norm, you get me? Nope. But again, I'm so used to it. It is, at this point, just a small voice in my head going, you should just murder yourself. Commit self-murder, murder yourself. Go ahead, commit a self-hate crime. Murder yourself. Go ahead, just go ahead. Why haven't you tried it? Just go ahead and do it. I'm eating a bagel. It's 10 a.m. I just got the songs out of my head. I was, not to brag, but I was recently doing a mental health intake, and they said, hey, you know, do you have any suicidal thoughts? And I said, not in any meaningful way. And she said, excuse me? And I said, oh, you know, I know it's just my brain being uncomfortable with the situation. I go, oh, God, I just want to die. And it's just the line at CVS is too long, you know? And she said, oh, okay, that sounds healthy. Do you have any homicidal thoughts? And I said, I turned to her and I looked her right in the eye and I said, it had never occurred to me that it could be the other person's fault. That's how low my self-esteem is. We're rounding the corner here, folks, and we are. I'm going to take a sip, if you don't mind. Wet my whistle. I will also say I did lie. I can do a Trump impression. Hopefully this will be the last time it's relevant. We'll see. And this is Trump in Pretty Woman. Big mistake, huge. Thank you. I don't know why I turned into Columbo there for a second. Listen, I'm sorry. This is a quick impression. This is horny Columbo. Let me just get the... Right. I got one more question for you. What's that mouth do? So we're having fun here. Rounding the corner, so the rest of this is kind of just stuff that doesn't really fit exactly with it, but it's like bits and bobs and pieces of life experience that I want to pass the savings on to you. For example, here's something a therapist told me. I'm not a therapist. I could be one day, but again, here now doing this. I did not like the callback. I'm also looking at my hand because I realized I forgot to say something. I want to stress, again, vis-a-vis the suicidal thoughts, I'm fine, and I mean that, because I do have a fail-safe. I would sooner kill myself than let my depression win. But I do have a fail-safe, because whenever I would start to put together the act, which is, of course, what a comedian would call suicide, oh my God, too. All our God, but I would start putting together the act, and then this would get stuck in my head. Start spreading the noose. I'm leaving today. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. These little guys' shoes could be dangling. Too much? And I think that's funny, and you can't kill yourself while you're laughing. The Tristan Miller story, available next fall. I did this show in the Minnesota Fringe Festival, and I got a review which was positive overall. It said, great comedy, apt title, by the way. That is the one review in which I live in fear. Like, simply, Manic Impressive isn't. Devastating, exactly. A fellow performer, just that would be, I would stop doing everything with my life. But that's not what this person said. They said, great show, apt title, way more singing than I thought. Which is fair. I don't exactly advertise that on the tin, But this is a piece of advice my therapist gave me, which is instead of saying, I'm sorry, try instead to say, thank you. For example, saying, thank you for waiting rather than, sorry, I'm late. It works in almost every instance, except for funerals. Trust me. This is a piece of advice I got from my old dad. New dad on the way. Sometimes, no. I don't know why I said that. I have one father who are not in heaven. But this is advice from my old dad, and he said, every day is a gift. Some days the gift is socks. It's not what you asked for, but it still has a function. This is a bit of advice. You can put that here. And then I want to tell a story that has a moral message in the end, a parable, if you will, and in that way, I am like Jesus. So I did this show in my hometown of Rochester, Minnesota, and it went very well. Thank you for asking. It went very well. I had finished the show. I was waiting for my parents. They had met someone that they knew, because, again, it was my hometown, and I was waiting for them because they were my ride. Then a couple people came up to me after the show, and one person said, hey, listen, I recently got diagnosed, and my doctor told me I should try cognitive behavioral therapy, and hearing you joke about it and hearing you laugh about it, and it assuaged my fears, and I'm gonna try. I was like, wow, I might have changed that person's life for the worse, because their therapist could be terrible. But I think this is the clearest window into my psyche that you can get, because as they were saying this, the first thought I had was, yeah, but was the show funny? Did you laugh? Please. My friend was going through a particularly hard time. She's a comedian. I know. The comedian can't operate on her son. She's a woman. Oh boy. So this woman, this comedian friend of mine, we were talking about medication, and she turns to me, tears in her eyes, and said, "Don't you feel?" Because I'm on medication, thank God. This is the after photo. The before, very blurry, missing parts of my 20s. Anyway, so she was like, don't you feel less funny on it? And she was like really emotionally overwhelmed. And I said, do you feel particularly funny now? Yeah, comedian owns friend seeking help, She's fine. She's fine. She's fine. What more do I need to say to you? What did we learn? We learned that I can do a Gollum impression. Yeah, we didn't so much learn that as confirm it. Look at me. We learned that I have bipolar disorder and I'm from the Midwest, which makes me a passive-aggressive manic depressive. I was taught to be unself-expressive. I buried everything, buried it down, and inside every smile, I knew there was a small frown. And this is the thing that I thought our children must learn, as happy as they are and free from concern, that we're all simply waiting around to die. We all live our truth, yes, but also one big lie. And that's that we'll never go to that place we don't know, behind the spooky red curtain, that we don't live a life that is full of strife and is wildly uncertain. But don't be so mad and don't be so sad, because everyone is aware of death. In fact, that's the thing that makes you glad for the life that you've had and grateful for every breath. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Keep it going for Caveat and Matt Storrs, and for yourselves. Get home safe. God bless. Good night.